Magical Dan. I've been cursed
Magical
by a demon
Dan.
called Magical Dan. And,
See, this happened a bit last time, so I'm wondering if I need to change services because I pay for Restream, and Restream's acting like a bunghole right now. So that's not cool. But are we
cursed.
back? I said bunghole.
Bunghole. God heard that.
Bunghole. I know God heard it. God hears a lot of things I say. We're back. We should be. Let me double check. I can look on YouTube and see. I don't know what's going on. Everything is weird. With yeah, I think we're back.
It's probably the Illuminati again. You bastards.
Hold on. Is this one it? Which one is it? I think we're back. Are we back? It keeps glitching. Video paused. Let me go to my channel. See? Okay. It still says live. Okay, it's back. I'm seeing it here.
Yay, we're back.
See? We're
Putin
talking.
Fucking with the stream again.
All right. Awesome. So, do we want to give this a go and try? Because technology is mean for whatever reason. Hurry up and wait. All this science. Yep, we're live on Periscope. So I think we're here. Okay. Cool. So
there's a philosophical pondering for you. I think we're here.
I think we're here.
I'm feeling all
if nobody's watching our live
stream,
do we exist?
Oh my God, this is just my residual self-image. Holy fuck.
So, okay. So back in December, I have not had the pleasure of ever dealing with Kent Hovind until I started hanging out with different people in the community. And they're like, have you seen this Kent Hovind guy? I'm like, no, I haven't. And I was blissfully unaware for quite a while until I started to watch one of his videos on a movie night. We actually did a fundraiser for Bullionator, our producer. And so we did like a movie night where we were watching a Kent Hovind video, and me being, a scientist and a science educator, I was just sitting like, this is garbage. Then his phone number popped up. And I was like, I'm just going to call him right now. And so I did. And he answered the phone. So let's have a look at a little bit of this, and we'll see if this reflects at all or relates at all to the script that you hear. And see if it's similar, and feel free to jump in and pause, say pause, and make any comments that you want. Does that sound cool?
Sure.
I've got a comment to begin with.
Okay.
To reprise our pre-show conversation, I would bet you a paycheck there's some heinous shit going on at the Dinosaur Adventureland compound. Don't you just know it? There's some
Dinosaur Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights.
Almost guaranteed with the rumors or reputations that go on about that place.
Ready for this?
And I love Hovind has repeatedly said, how many single guys we've got down here? We've got like 12 single guys, so come on down, you dirty old man. Stop doing that. Don't do that on the internet.
Yeah, it should be in the episode 5 folder.
Got it.
The clipped version.
The Mel versus Hovind.
That's right.
It's
I
so
can't
nice
hear
to
it.
talk to you, sir. Thank you so much for taking my call on the weekend.
You're welcome. How can I help?
Yes, I wanted to call because I'm developing a unit for dinosaurs, and I was really curious about what you think about how it is that the species are so vastly different, like how they diverged. And I really would like to get your opinion on that because I'm a teacher, and I'd really like to kind of put that in this particular unit.
Okay. I would be a little careful of the word species. It doesn't really have a good definition. Dog and a wolf are different.
Yeah, it really does.
Variety, maybe, or kind. The Bible says they'll bring forth that.
Okay, stop.
Kind, and that's all that's ever happened.
Okay, stop. So, Kent Hovind says that species doesn't have a good definition, but kind does. Now,
And,
those who watched the debate that I had with him, I spent 2 hours asking him the same fucking question over and over again, paraphrasing it every way I could, and him dodging them at every time. What the hell is a kind? Give me a definition of a kind. And he couldn't do it. I could give him a definition of a species. I could give him the definition of a clade. I could give him species definitions for asexual and sexual reproducers. Didn't matter. But he couldn't come up with a definition of a kind. He just won't use species because it undermines his position.
Hovind is so easy to read and remember because he's very uninventive beyond, 1978, apparently. I know the response to that. And the response is, well, it's obvious. A 5-year-old could tell you which kind is this. And then he shows like 3 bananas and a whale. It's obvious. No, that's obvious, Kent, but it doesn't define the thing that you're about. Give me a list.
The funny thing about it, he will only show 2 species at a time next to each other, right? Yeah. He won't ever show 3, because if you show 3 different species, then 2 of them are going to be closer than the other one. You're always going to have an odd one out. So if you have a giraffe and a horse and a wolf, then 2 of them are ungulates and 1 of them is something else. You have a kangaroo. What's that?
Oh, I was going to tell you what, we should jump a couple minutes ahead because he gets into the flood.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go for it. It's fine. Let's see. I think it's around a minute.
There are probably only about 30 different varieties of dinosaurs.
Okay. Well, can you jump like a minute ahead?
Yeah, the Phylogeny Explorer project has documented over 700 species.
Okay.
Of
well,
dinosaurs.
I've heard that a lot of people consider turkeys, descendants of dinosaurs. What do you think about that? Do you think it's possible that they changed like that, or where do you think like the hummingbirds and the turkeys actually came from?
Mm-hmm. I think God created the animals to bring forth after their kind, and that's all we've ever observed.
That's why birds are still dinosaurs.
Of the world has counted on evolution not happening.
Every farmer has counted on evolution not happening.
Yeah, if we could stop again. Yeah, his deliberate misrepresentation of evolution. He doesn't want to accept that humans are apes, but he'll say that they give forth after their own kind. Well, that's why we're still part of the ape kind, and that's why birds are still part of the dinosaur kind, right? And regardless what a 5-year-old could tell you about that, I don't know about what a 5-year-old, but what could a 65-year-old do? Is he any smarter than a 5-year-old? And to my experience, he's not.
No,
it upsets me as a mildly obsessive person that his script is word for word the same as it was before he did the 10-year bit in prison. He's just out to go into the dogs always produce dogs, blah blah blah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I've corrected him to his face about this. In real time, when we're having a real-time conversation, that I corrected him about this. He will not ever concede a mistake because he's got a sweet gig going on. He's making a bunch of money. He has literally made millions of dollars by doing this, and he's had other people voluntarily doing all this work for him, so that he manages to command all these people, and he has this assumed authority and all of this. So he's in a pretty sweet position. And if he had integrity or honesty, then he would admit that none of us have ever believed that we came from rocks, except creationists who believe that they were made out of mud. As a magic spell, specifically a golem spell, which is a magic spell from the Hebrew tradition. So he believes in magic, not us. He believes that he was made of a rock. We don't. Rocks are solid silicate minerals that had nothing to do with the origin of or the formation of life. So the earliest life forms had no minerals at all. So no rocks. But this is just one of the many lies. This is just one of the many lies that he must continue telling and can never correct. He cannot ever state what evolution really is. His whole life is playing up to a straw man misrepresentation, a deliberate misrepresentation.
Can we jump like another minute ahead, Bull, in a second? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
It's very easy to consider Hovind to be a jolly, affable buffoon.
Yes.
And it's very tempting to give him that kind of credit in the hope that he is actually that person. But behind that, he is a vocal anti-vaxxer. He peddles potentially lethal non-cures for cancer. And in a conversation recorded with Stephen Anderson, has advocated for the wholesale execution of unruly children, and of course, anyone who isn't presumably straight, as he is. And these things are borderline fascism, coupled with his bizarre sovereign citizen nonsense. He is a
I
very
really want him to be caught, like, I want him to be caught in a rest area with a dude at some point. That would be really great.
But that happens so often now. I mean, anytime somebody is like, anytime somebody is adamantly anti-gay and super religious at the same time, they're always caught in a van with a rent-a-boy or something like that.
It's awesome. Let's see if we can just get a little bit more of this video, and then I have some more fun stuff for you. So let's see if we can jump ahead a couple more minutes. What do you think?
I'll try not to interrupt, but I apologize, but it is just so hard.
I understand. It was hard for me to just sit there and ask questions. So I completely get it.
I can imagine.
Cambrian explosion, because that's like a really, that's really big in the scientific community, where they've like found all these fossils that are like right around the same time.
Right.
And so they call that like a Cambrian explosion. So I'm trying.
Cambrian explosion. What was that? Around 50 million years, just to give some context.
Yeah, the explosion itself was 50 million years.
Yes, it was all a bunch of stuff happened. Yes. So let's.
And it was preceded. It was preceded by a number of precursor organisms.
Can we buy 100 prelude egg?
There's no such thing as a geologic column. This is the problem. The whole thing is also imagination. There are lots of layers of rock in the earth. I mean, you can see them in Grand Canyon. There's no question. However, they're all from the same flood in the days of Noah. There's no such thing as a Cambrian period. So I agree. It seems to be when they dig down in the fossils and find all of a sudden all the animals are there at the same time. Wow. Yeah, that's because of Noah's flood.
But they were sea creatures, though. That's where I'm kind of confused. A lot of these were sea creatures, so they should have survived the flood, don't you think?
Well, the Bible says the fountains of the were broken open, and then the windows of heaven are open. So most of the flood water came from inside the earth. If you dump a gallon of boiling water into your aquarium, all the fish are going to die.
So he's saying that all there's hot water that killed everything.
So if hot water was dumped into the ocean from down beneath, it would kill things within 100 miles.
This is rainwater, so that shouldn't be that hot, don't you think?
No, the Bible says the fountains of the deep were broken open. So most of the flood water came from inside the earth. Psalm 24, Psalm 33, and Psalm 136. All three talk about the earth having water in the crust of the earth. And that's where the flood water came from.
Oh, God.
Really?
Okay, all right. So I can't deal with this anymore. I already went through this one time. So he doesn't understand thermodynamics, number one. Two, no.
Actually, according to thermodynamics, I mean, if it was just rain, if that's all it was just rain, the rain and the volume required would have superheated the planet. Heated the planet. The rain would have heated the planet, even if it was just rain coming in from the sky. That would have been enough to superheat the planet to the point of death. Had it been the fountains of the earth, even if it isn't the fountains of the earth, if in whatever way you manage to raise the water level to the degree that they say that it has to go, that would wipe out everything, including bacteria. That would annihilate all life on Earth. There would not even be soil horizons anymore. Nothing at all. For those who are interested, and please include a link to this if you have one. I did a playlist, an 8-part series on how we know through various methods of science that the Noah's flood not only couldn't happen, but definitely didn't happen, even if it was a miracle. We still know that it didn't happen.
Gosh,
Exactly.
It's nuts. So that entire conversation happened in December on a movie night for Bullionator. If you want to go back and watch that, it's on my channel. He didn't even know what Habitat for Humanity is. He starts talking about climate change and how it's largely a government conspiracy. And then I'm like, well, the EPA is getting rollback, so you should be happy about that. He couldn't comment. And then I mentioned Habitat for Humanity and how, because he had said that people don't own their own houses, and so they treat everything like garbage, and that if you rent a car, you're gonna run it into the ground, you're gonna drive it a lot faster and be reckless with it. I'm like, I am never getting in a car with you. Is what I was thinking, like, especially if it's a rental. But then I mentioned Habitat for Humanity, which is a program to help people own their own homes by a Christian organization. And he went off on how we shouldn't do that. And then I had to actually educate him on that and Jimmy Carter. So it was more like a
Jimmy Carter.
Call.
Jimmy Carter, an evangelical Nobel Prize winner who in his 90s is physically on site building houses for the poor.
Yeah.
If every evangelical could live up to what Jimmy Carter is, it still wouldn't give any credence to the belief, but I would have such respect for evangelicals.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how many of them can be a shadow of what Jesus was proposing about, about taking care of the poor and so forth? Seriously. I mean, at some point, it seems that the religious right has taken all of Jesus's messages about taking care of the poor and rendering unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. They've taken every one of his messages and completely turned them around. So that if there was a Jesus and he showed up, he would reject the entire religious right of the United States at this time.
Yeah.
I agree entirely. And as a token gesture, I'd propose this. It's not much, but it would make a difference. If the Vatican sold off 1% of its wealth, just 1%, and used that money to feed, clothe, and educate people, I think that would be a good start, given all the fucking rape and the piles of gold and all whatnot. And I think that would really, really improve their situation. And
as atheists, I think we would all accept that if there is a definition of evil at all, it would be selfishness at someone else's expense. Would we agree on that? Is that a fair assessment? Okay. And in that case, if that is the definition of evil, then is not the Catholic Church the most evil organization there is?
For me, it crumbles. Now, pederasty happens and it's a terrible thing, and bad people do it. But when other people defend that for decades, there's a special level of evil involved there. Instead of dealing with the problem and going, oh shit, this is a thing and people are getting hurt, behaving like a Christian or a reasonable human being. It's, well, it will damage the church and it's just a few kids, and really, who gives a shit?
Just a few kids, except that in the 1700s, they were complaining about the Catholic Church for their famous failure at taking care of kids in their charge. In the 1700s. Just like this has been going on since it began.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, do you know of which was essentially an ethnic cleansing or a socioeconomic cleansing of minors? Yeah, come over, fight for Jesus. And basically the kids were either sent home, the lucky ones, sold as slaves, sodomized to death, or used as, arrow fodder at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but atheists have done shit as well, don't get me wrong. Because I can hear G-Man in my head going...
If you hear G-Man in your head...
worship Satan. God, your elk worship Satan. Did you not? Yeah. We have a T-shirt now just for G-Man telling you how much your elk worships Satan, and it has a picture of an elk on. He mispronounces words, so he means to say elk, but He says your elk worship Satan. So our whole
I have to
show,
wonder
Aural,
about G-Man. I've never been able to believe that I've never been able to believe that G-Man is really as stupid as he makes himself out to be. That has got to be a show. There's no way anybody is that dumb.
It's all inspiring, but Aron, he is.
He hates me, man.
I've said to him, you know, I admire your performance as a performer. You're electrifying. You've got real talent. And he's like, don't patronize me. Well, that's the nicest thing I can say about you, you toxic, vindictive little duplicity.
You know, speaking of toxic, ignorant people, we have a present for you, Aron, by the person who did my really cool intros. Peter, also known as Gonna Go For It. He made our intros and our really cool screens. So he's made a present for you with something that you might like. So Bull, you got the Aron Ra video? Let's have a look at that. I think you'll like this. This is funny.
Remember that the Bible describes the earth as a flat disk covered by a giant crystal dome with windows in it.
My uncle, you know, because I do believe in the resource theory, right?
Please.
You know, slow horses don't produce fast horses, right?
Stop going quack, 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 quack. Please stop that. You're messing up my recording. The article they printed out for the class was called Physical Constraints of the Noachian Deluge, submitted to the Journal of...
I even had an uncle. You know, if you believe in genes, some do, some don't.
Shut up. The article they printed out for the class was called...
My uncle was one of the top people at MIT.
I love that there are Playboy pinups in the frames. That's beautiful attention to detail. Well, sorry, Peter. Excellent. So, as a response to that, other than it's wonderful, Aron, do you get the feeling that we're through the looking glass now, given that the president of the USA is the dumbest man in all recorded history, and he's also a shit? What happened,
it's quite impressive to me that you know, religion wasn't the thing that severed me from every one of my family members. It was their worship of the Marmalade Mussolini.
No.
That's the reason that no one in my family will talk to me anymore, because I'm not allowed to denigrate their president. You don't talk about my president.
Oh God!
I
quit going
to anybody
for that reason. I honestly quit going to Thanksgiving the year he became president, and I just have it at my house. I can't cope. So
So how is it that anybody could listen to this man and not realize that they're listening to a dangerously incompetent crime boss who has no idea what the fuck he's talking about ever?
What surprises me is you're both very reasonable people. I don't know either of you well, but I imagine that you come from families of essentially reasonable people.
Well, maybe she does.
How can they accept that? You know, this guy presenting himself as he does. You know, politics is one thing, but all of the heinous stuff, and he does all of it. They're just like, nope. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that he's a misogynist, racist. And some of those Nazis, I'm sure, are very good people.
Entertainer. He's an entertainer for the bottom of the barrel. That's what it is. He's an entertainer for the bottom of the barrel that makes promises for everybody to have all this money, and he says words that are associated with people who are not educated, who don't understand how things work, and who absolutely hate people that are different from them. So, I mean, it's just...
You know, when he was buying up big swathes of Scotland to turn it into a theme park and was pissed off when people were like, no, I'm not selling to you at any price. Go fuck yourself.
I love the woman that held up Trump as a cunt at his golf course. That was amazing. She's my hero.
There was also is that the girl that flashed in a kilt on the news?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was her. And there was also a guy, a real crusty old Scottish farmer type. Trump was opening his golf course, and it was a pantomime, and the locals are like, "Oh Jesus, what's this?" The guy put up a big flagpole and hoisted the Mexican flag up it.
Yeah.
The Mexican flag, and Trump with his hair blowing everywhere. It's all going to be beautiful.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's just.
Oh.
Yeah, and I have
so-
so much
Obama.
policy-wise. I have so much policy-wise that he's done. He's just the guy is again, going back to the definition of evil about selfishness at other people's expense. He's just exceedingly evil. The things that he will do to other people, to animals, for example, what he's done to the wolves. Where the year that the wolves came off the endangered species list, he puts them back on in a vengeance because he authorized anybody to kill any number of wolves by any means they can.
Even pups, and then the sleeping bears. You're allowed to shoot hibernating bears now because of him.
So by any means, which means poisoning and trapping and all of those things that are
and
really
razor wire
wire.
traps.
All the EPA
Right.
rollbacks.
So,
I just it's
No
it's
one has
really
done
hard.
more damage. No one has done more damage to this country, period. No individual person has ever done more damage to this country than Donald Trump.
It is mind-boggling, and it's pretty rough. And it's funny because the day that Brexit came out, the vote, because I have a lot of friends in London, and they're all I think save one Remainers. And so some of them didn't vote because they're like, this couldn't possibly happen. We're not going to leave the EU. And then the day that I land in London, the vote came out, and my friends are texting me, "Oh my God, we're leaving the EU!" And I'm like, well, and they're like, what are we going to do? And they're just like panicking. Trump hadn't been elected yet. I actually got to go to one of the protests, which was
out. And I so wish that I was part of it. But unfortunately, I've got to be at Heathrow. No way out of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We marched down all the way down to Parliament. They had DJs. They had a DJ like playing Bowie music, and then, oh God, it's like they had so many chants about Nigel Farage and God, Boris, and I'm just like, oh God.
Yeah, and now Boris, who is Barney Rubble without a comb. Next time you look at a picture of Boris, just imagine Barney Rubble didn't get a comb. That's Boris.